In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And when you hear the Word will make you God. Chapter 6 of the Gospel of Matthew. Take heed that you do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. That means, take heed that you do not your alms before men. So whatever alms or whatever good you wish to give, anything to anybody, don't do it openly and publicly. Because if you do that, to be seen of them, you want more of publicity for the good or the alms that you are going to give. So you want recognition from the people around you. So therefore openly do not give alms. Take heed. Otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven, or who is in heaven. Now why did he say that? When you openly in public advertise and make a big show and give your alms, your gifts and other things to the people around you, then you are doing it to acquire appreciation and honor from the people around you. So therefore, you have had your reward. You are doing it for name, fame and publicity. Therefore, by that, when people see that and appreciate it, then you have had your reward. That is why he says, otherwise you have no reward of your Father. So since you have had your reward, Father is not going to reward you. God is not going to reward you. Because you have already had your reward, which is human appreciation. So in 2 he says, therefore, when thou doest thy alms, do not sound trumpet before thee. Do not make a public show. Do not make a trumpet means make a public show and advertise and tell everybody and show everybody publicly. As the hypocrites do. Generally the hypocrites only do like that. When a noble person gives something, he does it quietly. That's the nobility of the noble person. He doesn't openly give you this publicly. It's a private thing, quietly given to you. As the hypocrites do in the synagogues. So this is what people do in the synagogues and in the streets too. In the synagogues, temples and churches, they come and make a show of their presentations. So they have had their reward in human appreciation. So God will not reward thee. So there is no merit involved there. You have already had your reward. So, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, people do it in the streets too. So, when you give, you don't give it with arrogance. You give it with a certain sense of humility. With a certain sense of being a little shy in giving. A little shy in giving. That is how everything has to be given. You don't arrogantly give and throw. You give it with a certain amount of due respect to the receiver and lovingly and gently give it to the person. Then the person happily receives it. So, as the same hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men, that they may have glory of men. And that is why a lot of people, a lot of people do that. Because they want the glory of men, not the glory of God. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. They have their reward in human glory. So, then, therefore, but when thou doest alms, when you give in whatever form, whether you give food or cash, money, or whether you give material things, do it very quietly, so that don't make a public spectacle out of it. Privately, quietly give it. So that is why it is said, when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. So it is to be done so quietly. Even your left hand should. So what your left hand, so what the right hand is giving, let not even the left hand know about it. That is said, it should be done very quietly. That's the whole idea. So then the fourth line, that thine alms may be in secret. So whatever you do, you give it in secret, very quietly, not make a public spectacle, not show others and give. Do it quietly. Don't look for appreciation from the people around. And thy Father which seeth in secret. So when you do it quietly and privately, then thy Father which seeth in secret, your Father, God knows what you are doing, whatever you do, God knows. His eyes are everywhere. There is from one person you cannot escape from whatever you are doing. He is a witness to all what you do, because His eyes are everywhere. So in the Bhagavad Gita it is very beautifully mentioned. I have eyes everywhere. I have ears everywhere. Wherever you are, when you appeal to me for succor, for help, or wherever you are, in whatever place or manner, I hear you. I hear your voice. Because my ears are everywhere. My eyes are everywhere. I see everything. So therefore, thy Father which seeth in secret, He sees everything that you do. He knows what you do too. He also knows what you think. What you think He knows. He also knows what you feel. What you feel, He knows. He is aware of it. So, therefore, be thou careful in what you feel, what you think, because the good Lord is aware of all what you do. He is totally aware. If He were not aware of it, then He wouldn't be God. That is why He is God. God knows, and God knows everything. So, and thy Father which seeth in secret, himself shall reward thee openly. He will reward thee openly. Now what does it mean? He will reward thee openly. He will reward thee openly with God consciousness. So that is your reward that He will give you. God consciousness, God vision. He'll give you openly, reward thee openly, so that you can have this God vision, which you will see everywhere. God vision does not come easily to people. It is only when you have become a noble soul, a righteous person, that God confers this ability upon you to have this God vision. Later on, He will explain to you what this God vision is, in what manner you could maintain and sustain this vision. What is this God vision? He is going to tell you in the latter part of this section. So He'll give you that blessed vision. So don't imagine that God is a being or something somewhere. No, not at all. But there is an intriguing mystery via the God vision, God consciousness. So when you have got this God consciousness, it is said that you are living in God. With the awareness of God, you have become God aware. How to become God aware is going to be explained. So with God awareness, you keep on living and functioning in life. Then when the person does that, he is said to be living in God. He is said to be living in God. So therefore, he shall reward thee openly. Then, how to pray? The fifth line. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. There are three types of people who go to the synagogues, to the temples, and to the churches. Three types of people. One is the one who is pious, who has got a reverence for God. They feel reverence for God, and therefore the people with piety, they go to the synagogues, the temples, the churches. They go there for worship, to partake in the worship. The second person who goes is, he wants to be seen that he is a respectable man. And therefore, he also goes to the temple or the church, because he wants to show others. He may be a villain, but he wants to hide his dubious nature and make a spectacle of himself, to show everybody that he is also an honorable person. So these are the second category of people who go to these temples and churches. And you find that everywhere, in all cultures, in all traditions, such people go there. Then the third type of person who goes to the temples and the churches and synagogues is the worst person who wants to do business there. He is more interested in making a little profit. So he also goes there. He knows that it is a good setup to do a little business. So such people also go there. So that is why Jesus, when he entered the synagogue once, he openly threw away the money changers and those who were doing business, scattered and threw everything. You have made my Father's house a place of business, and he has thrown it away. And today, people do that. Even today. So it's the church, it has become a good profit-making concern too for some people. Some of them, yes, they do that. It's in all cultures. So standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men, so that people can see them. Oh, he's a good man, honorable man. He's also going to the church or to the temple. But it is a camouflage to hide his dubious nature and disposition. So he's a hypocrite. He's a clean hypocrite. To show people that he is a respectable character. Not to just, he goes to the church, he goes to the temple. So they have their reward. Such people also have their reward because they are being appreciated by the people around. That's their reward. Then, but how to pray is mentioned. But when thou prayest, when thou prayest, how to pray and where to pray. There is a very pertinent, important section, this particular section, wherein he says where to pray, how to pray. So, but when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. So, when you wish to pray, enter thy closet. What is the closet that you have? It's your mind. Your mind is your closet. Your mind is the closet. So that is a place where communion with God has to be conducted. Not anywhere else. True communion with God is conducted in your mind. That is a secret temple. That is a temple of God. And that is where God experience will transpire. So therefore, you have to get there. Get to the place where God is. Where God is. So thus, enter thy closet, the mind. And when thou hast shut thy door, you have 12 doors. That's interesting. 12 doors. Those are your 10 senses and the mind and the intellect. These are the doors that you should shut. So normally you receive input from the outside world via the 10 plus 2, 12 sense organs that you find. The 10 organs of action, the hands, the feet, and the 10 organs of knowledge by which you get sensory input, which are the 5 organs of knowledge, plus the mind and the intellect. So these are the 12 doors. So that's what he means, shut thy door. So having, that means then you do not receive any sensory input from the outside world. You are dead to the world. You are dead to the world. Isn't that exactly what you do when you go to sleep? You shut all your doors, otherwise you can't sleep. Even if you hear a little noise, you want to go and shut the window from where that noise is coming. So these are the doors. So you don't want external input coming and disturbing you. So therefore you shut thy door, 12 doors that you have. And pray to the Father which is in secret. Pray to the Father. Who is in secret? Because the Father is there. Who is in secret? Because that is where God is. God is ever present there. And pray to Him. Pray to thy Father which is in secret. Now, how to pray to your Father in secret? The next line is going to tell you that. How to pray. And thy Father which seeth in secret, and the good Lord, He sees you entering into your closet, into the closet of your mind, and then you have cleared all sense impressions out of it and emptied your mind. There is no input, and then you remain there. Be still. Be still there. So when you are, be still and know that I am God, a biblical passage in the Psalms. So be still. So be mentally still. So when you are mentally still, your 11th door is also closed. Your 11th and 12th doors are closed. Be mentally still. And know that I am God. Know means be aware that I am God. So just be aware. How to be aware? Just be aware. Just be aware. Aware of what? Nothing in particular. Why? Because God is not a substance. God is something unknown to you. God is not a thing. So therefore, just be aware. When you are just aware, you are being aware of God. Normally, in the world, you are aware of something. You are aware of the sun, you are aware of the moon, you are aware of the church, you are aware of the person, you are aware of your emotions, you are aware of your feelings, you are aware of your thought. But here you are aware of nothing in particular. So you have entered into a state of silence. You have become silent totally. You have become silent to the world. And when you have become silent to the world, you have now become aware, or becoming aware of the divine presence which is there. You have just become aware of the divine presence, the unseen, the unknown divine presence in the closet of your mind. You have become aware. When you do that, you are in communion with God. This is what is called as communion. Or we may even call it as Holy Communion. This is where the real Holy Communion transpires. Because you are in Holy Communion with God. Wherein there is no feelings, no human feelings to disturb you, no human thoughts, no outward impressions, but there is total silence. There is only stillness. So when that stillness is there, then you are in communion with the Most High, which is ever present in your mind itself, in the depths of your heart. It is ever present. So therefore, this is how you should become aware. This is how you pray. So this is true prayer. There are two forms of prayers. One form of prayer is wherein you use language. You use words. O my Father, my glorious Father, thou art great indeed. That's using thou art glorious, thou art the one who brought this creation of this entire emanation. Thou art gracious, full of love. Be gracious and kind unto me. This is a verbal form of prayers. But you don't have to say that. There is another prayer which is even more powerful and which is the true prayers, wherein you are in silent communion with God. You're mentally silent, mentally quiet, and with all focused attention. This is what the nuns in the ancient days, in their convents, monasteries, in Western Europe, did that. In the middle of the night, they maintain vigil. They maintain vigil. So when you maintain vigil means you always maintain vigil for something or somebody. When you are told to watch in the night time, when there is nothing, you watch. You watch. You are the watcher, the God who is watching. So here also you watch. So you watch. So when you watch, so in watch there is no verbal language. In watching you have become aware of just being a watcher watching. So here too also you are in that state of being aware, silently aware of the unseen, invisible presence of God. So this is true prayers indeed. The holy communion with God is transpiring now in the holy church. This is the holy church. This is the holy church in which God dwells. There was in France a nun who became, somewhere around the 12th century, a nun who became holy. She always made reference to this holy church, wherein God is ever present. And that is there within you. This is the true church of God in your heart and mind. And that is where God has to be experienced. So therefore, the way to do it is to enter your closet and become silently aware, having closed all your doors. So that is why he says, but you do this, but don't do another thing. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions. That's what people do all the time. In churches, synagogues, temples, everywhere. It's all repetitions. Vain repetitions over and over again. You keep on doing it for 100 times, you get tired of it. Even God gets tired of it, listening to you. What is this fellow mumbling all the time? Why doesn't he keep quiet? I remember sometimes these little children have got great wisdom. I was staying in a home, and every evening we had my sermons or my teachings of the scriptures. So we would all prepare to go. And there were two little girls in the house, and one of them was 4 years old. Now they couldn't come for the sermons because they would be uncomfortable, and so they had to be taken elsewhere for babysitting. So the little girls too got tired. So one day, one of those little girls said, "Why doesn't the Swami keep quiet?" What a great statement! does the Swami keep quiet? That's what the whole thing is all about. 4-year-old child. So that is the truth. Huh? So, but when you pray, use not vain repetitions. Don't keep on repeating. Huh? Your prayers and your phrases, as the heathens do. Now he is using the word heathens, as the heathens do. Why does he use the word as the heathens do? Perhaps it's the non-believers. They are the ones who do a lot of these repetitions over and over again. The people who really go and pray, you find some of them, when they enter a church on a day wherein there is no service, a lot of individual people quietly go and sit down in the, how do they call it? Pews. Sit down in the pews and quietly sit in a reverential state. Now these people are in true communion with God. They are very quiet. They sit down for 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then get up and go away. So this is where the true communion takes place. And for that purpose, a place like a church is an excellent place. The atmosphere is good. And you can quietly sit down there in communion with God. The best place. Because it is quiet, no silent, no disturbance around, and you can quietly sit down. And that is what a chapel is meant for. A chapel is meant for that purpose. Not for making a lot of ceremonial noise or ceremonial actions of all orders and ringing the bells and making a lot of tom-tom noise, as it is quite often done in the Hindu temples. A lot of noise is made at the time of worship. So you don't, that's not worship. It is at that time when there is no service and everybody is quiet, when you can have true communion with God at that time. So therefore he says, but when you pray, use not vain repetitions. Don't keep on repeating things mechanically. You must feel what you are repeating. Feel it. As the heathens do, because the heathens do that. Huh? For they think that they shall be heard, for they are much speaking. They think that by doing all this that they can be heard by God, as if God doesn't know what is going on in their mind. So you don't have to loudly proclaim it with a loudspeaker, their mouth loudspeaker. You got a loudspeaker called the mouth. You don't have to tell God and advertise it to him, he knows it. So therefore, that they shall be heard for their speaking. So be not you therefore like unto them. Don't be like them. For your Father knoweth what things you have need of, and before you ask him. Because many times people go through their prayers because they want to ask something from God. You don't have to ask anything from God. God knows what you want, at what time. He knows it very well. And accordingly, he has already provided that for you. God has provided that for you. So since he has provided that for you already, you don't have to ask him, because he has already supplied that for you. When you were born itself, he had already made all arrangements for you. Already made total arrangements for you. What you need to eat, where you should be, what you should dress, everything has been worked out. Because God is very perfect in all what he does. He very perfectly has has taken care of you. That's His job, to take care of you. And He has provided it. So you don't have to be anxious over it. Huh? Therefore, you don't have to ask Him. Of course, if you ask Him, He may give a little consideration now and then. But otherwise, you don't have to ask Him. Right? Because when you ask God for something special, you know, in this world, nothing is free. If you ask for something special and you want to get it, then a part of your merit goes away. A part of your merit, which you had very scrupulously acquired over a period of years, a part of it goes away. Therefore, don't ask anything. Don't lose your merit. In case God gives you, then you lose part of your merit. So therefore, it is unwise to ask for anything. Because God knows what, at which time you have the need of something, or the need of nothing. So accordingly, He provides you that. Accordingly, He takes care of it. Therefore, for your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you ask Him. Even before you ask Him, He knows what you need. So therefore, there is no need to ask Him for anything. Then in the 9th one, the Lord's Prayer is coming into the picture. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 is going to talk about the Lord's Prayer, one of the most important prayers, and also very significant and very popular, the Lord's Prayer. So, after this manner, therefore, pray you, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. In case you want to pray with words, that's acceptable, that's all right. But it's a short prayer. It's a short prayer. So in prayers, there is appreciation of God. You appreciate God. That's what prayer is all about. You appreciate the benign presence and beingness of God. Then, therefore, out of the depths of your heart, you pour out your outpourings of love and graciousness towards God. So therefore, be not you therefore like unto them. After this manner therefore pray you, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy name. Hallowed here means wonderful, wondrous, is thy name, is thy person. Hello. There is something wondrous, indescribably wondrous. Is thy being indeed indescribable? Thou art indescribable. It is so glorious that words cannot express it. You can only sense it and be bathed and be aware of that glory of God indeed, which you can appreciate. You are in appreciation of it in a state of silent awareness. You become aware of God's presence, God's beingness and presence. So, hallowed be thy name. Then he says, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Thy kingdom come. Yours is the kingdom. What is God's kingdom? A king cannot be without a kingdom. And what is God's kingdom? The word kingdom has been used. That is why Jesus was called the King of Kings. So a king must have a kingdom. And what is that kingdom? The God's kingdom is the entire universe and planet Earth. This is God's kingdom, wherein you are now, because you are connected with this planet Earth. So this entire Earth is God's kingdom, over which He has total domain and command. And you are His subjects. You are His subjects. This is God's, why it's God's kingdom. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done, so Thy kingdom come. So here also kingdom means the entire universe is God's kingdom. And Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done in earth. So Thy will, Thy kingdom come. What God wills in heaven. Now the word, we are using the word heaven for as a manner of speech. As God has willed in heaven. It is heaven means it is state of beingness. That which He has willed. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth. So whatever God has willed for you will be done and executed on planet earth. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, as it has been willed in heaven by God. So God wills, and that will gets executed on planet earth by mortal man. That's the meaning. So whatever God has willed, as He has willed in heaven, in His state of beingness. Not that He lives in heaven, but it's an expression. It's an expression. And that which He has willed for each and every person in life, Thy will be done on earth. It will be executed by each individual on planet earth. So that is why it is said, not my will, but Thy will. It's a popular expression. It is Thy will. So Thy will, and I as a humble person execute that will. So what has been willed by God gets executed by, I will live by God's will. Thy will, not my will. So when you do that, you stop unnecessary willing. Don't you will all the time? So you don't have to will anything. It spontaneously transpires in your life. As you wake up in the morning, automatically, you know, as time goes on, you know what has to be done. Automatically you know. So what has been meant for you for the day, some of them you know. Some of them you may be asked to do this and that. And sometimes unexpectedly you may have to do things for the day which you had no prior knowledge or information about. So all that you willingly undertake, whatever has to be done. Knowing and feeling that it is a will of God which is being executed in my life, and then humbly, not with arrogance, humbly, you are as an instrument, as a tool, you execute that will of God which is transpiring in your life in the form of some action, the form of some work. So when you do that, then you live your life in the will of God. Not my will, but Thy will. So you have relegated your will to the background. When you do this, that is why it is said in the Sermon on the Mount, the initial statement was, blessed are the poor in spirit. In spirit, they are poor. So in spirit they are poor means they are not function. They are poor in spirit means they are poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit. So they don't function with their own individual spirit, but they function in the, blessed are the poor in spirit. In spirit they have relegated it and they are living in the Spirit of God, with the Spirit of God. So therefore they are poor because they don't employ and use their own individual will. But whatever they have to do, they humbly take it, accept it, without rejecting it, without resistance. They humbly take it and execute it. Then they are living in the will of God. So, and they are poor in spirit. So such persons are said to be poor in spirit, and therefore the kingdom of heaven is for them. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is the meaning there. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So therefore, in order to do this, whatever transpires for you on that day, all that which transpires for you on that day, you may have pleasant experiences, unpleasant experiences, accept it. Sometimes they are inevitable. A pleasant experience is also inevitable. You accept it. An unpleasant experience is also inevitable. You cannot but go through it. Just accept it. Don't have that resistance. So by this process, you have accepted the will of God in your life. The will of God in your life. And second thing is, so two things you have. Whatever experiences come your way is one. And whatever actions that you have to do. So each person has got some karmas or actions which have to be done by him. Some known to him, some unknown to him. Unexpectedly some karmas or actions will come around your way for the day, and just take it and execute it. So, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So this is the meaning of it. Then, give us this day our daily bread. What is this daily bread? Give us this day our daily bread. Of course, God has given you His daily bread. What you need for the day, your bread, your physical bread, the roti as they call it, the roti, that He has given it to you already. He has provided that for you. Your roti and dal, your lentils and roti and everything, that has been provided for you already. So it is not that bread which He is talking of. Because He Himself has said that He has already provided that for you. Whatever you are to get as your goods for the day has been given to you. But here, give us this day our daily bread. This is a prayer, You are undertaking a prayer. So in that prayer, in the first part of the prayer, you are praying to God to give you the necessary spiritual strength and the spiritual wisdom and courage to do His will in your life. That's the first part of it. The second part is, give us this day our daily bread. Our daily bread. So, what is this daily bread? What did Jesus say when He was tempted by Satan? When He went up when He went up the mountain and fasted for 40 days. Man does not live by bread alone. So what is this He's talking of? So this is the true bread of life. So the true bread of life is, give us our daily bread, is when the true bread of life is when you sit, when you enter the closet, when you enter the closet of your mind and you are having shut the doors, your senses, and then when you enter into silent communion with God, when you do that, you are now in a meditative state. You are now in holy communion and in a meditative state. So that is what He says, give us this day our daily bread. So every day, everyone should be in this state, this meditative state of holy communion. Otherwise called as prayers. They are different words. The state of contemplation. This is a state of contemplation. You contemplate on God without language, then you are in a state of contemplation. And this, or you may call it a prayerful state. I'm not using the word prayers, a prayerful state. When you are in a prayerful state, true prayers is taking place. One is the prayers which is commonly understood in human society, wherein you pray with language and words. But there is another prayer which is even more truer and more powerful, that is the prayerful state. And this prayerful state is where the Holy Communion is taking place. And this is the bread, this is our daily bread, which he is referring to. The state of Holy Communion, which you will undertake during the time of inner silence, in a meditative, contemplative state. When you are in contemplation, that is the true bread indeed. And give us our daily bread, he says, because people very often do not meditate, or they forget to meditate because of other occupations, because of other interests. They fail to do this. So we must set aside a particular time for contemplation. This is contemplation. We must privately, individually set aside a time for this inner communion with God. And when we do this, this is the daily bread that you are requesting God. Oh, give us strength, oh God. That's the meaning is, give us this day our daily bread means, give us the strength and the capacity and the ability to get into this state so that we can have our daily bread. Wherein you are nourished by the Spirit of God. Daily here also it means you are nourished by the Spirit of God. So when you are in this state, God's Spirit nourishes you, and you are growing in spirit. You're waxing. You're waxing in the Spirit of God. That is why it was said of Jesus that he was waxing in the Spirit of God during his early formative years. So here also each person should so wax, so increase in the Spirit of God by this daily bread, which you are partaking. So this is that daily bread indeed. This is that Holy Communion which you are having with God. So when he said, man does not live by bread alone, this is what. And when Jesus says, this is my bread, this is my living bread, and the wine, this is what it means. This is what it means. See? Give us this day our daily bread. And then he says, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Of course, forgive us our debts. What is your debt? Of course, in the worldly sense also you have certain debts. You may have debts in the world. But there is one debt. And what is that debt? The omissions of what you are supposed to do. That is a debt. You have omitted to do something. That becomes a debt. So, sins are committed in two ways. By doing something wrong, a sin is committed. And a sin is also acquired by not doing what you are supposed to do. Even you too know very well that as a parent, if your children do not do what they are supposed to do, you become quite stern with them, don't you? You know that is not correct. So in the same way also, God has given you certain functions and actions to do in the world, And if you fail to do it, that is an omission, that is an error, and that is a debt, karmic debt. That's a karmic debt. So therefore, forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors, so we also have many people who may be indebted to us for whatever reason, in whatever form. They may be in debt to us, many people. But don't go after him like a Shylock. You know, the merchant of Venice. Don't go after that person. But forgive him. Overlook it, it's all right. So be it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sometimes certain people take certain things out of you forcibly. Don't you? And certain people take some things out of you, but they don't return it back. That means what? He was meant to take that from you. That's why he has come and taken it from you. And has not returned it back, because there was an inner transaction between the two of you. And therefore the time had come when he has to come and take it from you. So don't forget about it. Leave it alone. So that is what he says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. So unless you forgive the others for the debts they owe you, how can God forgive you for your debts? So therefore, he says, oh, forgive us for our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. And yes, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lead us not into temptation. So people are weak. People are weak in the world. They get tempted to do many things, many wrong things, and to take a wrong course of action, or to lay their hands on wrong things. So therefore it's a prayer. Oh God, lead us not into permit us not to, give us the strength as to not to fall into temptation. So whenever temptation comes your way, you must withstand that impulse or that urge. And as you withstand that impulse or the urge, that urge will die down, calm down. So with a certain amount of strength within yourself, you hold yourself in check, not to yield to those temptations, but to. So by this process, what happens is, you acquire soul force, inner strength. So the more you withhold yourself, the more you hold yourself in check, in balance, the more stronger do you become. The more you yield to these temptations, the weaker you become. So therefore, whenever these urges, impulses, incorrect impulses, improper impulses come your way, you must see to it that you restrain yourself and hold yourself in check. So that is why and it's a prayer. Or lead us not into temptation means don't allow us to, give us the strength not to fall into temptation. That's what it means. Not that God is going to lead you to temptation, but it is to give you the strength to enable you to withstand your own impulses, your own temptations. But deliver us from evil. For deliver us from evil. So deliver us from evil. Now what is evil? Evil is, there are many ways of looking at it. One thing is, in this context, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That is, protect us from evil. In this section. So, it's a continuation of the sentence. Protect us from wrong ways. Give us the strength so that we will not succumb to a wrong course of action. Then, in the Sermon on the Mount, it finally ends as, "For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen." For thine is the kingdom, for yours is the kingdom of God. Yours is the kingdom. And the power, and all the power which is there is expressing your power. The power of the lightning, the power of the thunder, the power of the storm, the power of the rivers, the power which is found in the ocean with all its fury during a cyclonic storm. All of this expresses thy glory indeed. The stars in the firmament with all their twinkling, and the sun and the moon, they all express the power and the glory of God. So therefore thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever indeed. Amen. Amen means so be it. So be it. As to whatever is transpiring, so be it. So whatever is transpiring in the world, we must learn to acknowledge it as so be it. Whether the good befalls or disaster befalls in the world, whether evil befalls in the world, so be it. Don't get passionately disturbed by that. Allow it to be so. When the floods come, when the hurricanes come, so be it. When man goes and creates problems in the world, what can you do? You are powerless to do anything. So be it. Don't get hooked on, don't get caught passionately, caught and disturb your peace and rhythm. Whatever is happening in the universe is the play of the divine. As per his powers, things are operating in the world. Therefore, do not be disturbed by whatever is transpiring. Then he says, "For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." Because many people, if you forgive men their trespasses means many people may have wronged you. And this is the case with everyone. Even to me too, it has transpired. Many people wrong you, wittingly and knowingly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't be angry with them. Don't try to take vengeance with them. Just forget it. Just, if you forgive men, you don't even forgive them. You just forget it. You just forget it. When you forget it, already forgiveness has been done. You don't take it to heart and get upset and annoyed and angry with the other person who may have done their trespasses against you. And this is human nature. All over the world, it will happen to you, wherever you are and wherever you go. Somebody is going to trespass upon you and cause you difficulties and problems. So therefore, don't be upset and angry about it, but so be it, accept it and so be it, and forget about it and go on, continue with your way of life. Otherwise you will be disturbed. So he says, if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. If you do that, because you have also done very wrong things, then your Father will forgive you. If you forgive others, your Father too will forgive you too. Will also, for your errors, for your erroneous acts of commission and your omissions, your good Father will also forgive you. If you also forgive others, not be angry and annoyed and upset with them, leave them alone. Why do you want to disturb your mind? Why do you want to get passionately involved with all that? Leave it alone and go on with your own life. So therefore, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. In case you do not forgive others for their trespasses upon you, then your heavenly Father too, God too, will not forgive you for your trespasses, because now you don't deserve it. Because you have been compassionate. So therefore God will also be compassionate with you. Automatically He'll be compassionate with you. Because He knows, my boy deserves it. My child deserves it. He has been compassionate to the other person. Therefore He deserves my compassion. And everyone is yearning for God's compassion. Everyone is yearning. So God will be compassionate with you in your ways. Then there's another section which we'll see after. Om Tat Sat.